Hello everyone. My name is Mrs. Bernal and I will be your art teacher for this school year. I am very excited to work with you. We are going to be creating a lot of fun projects together, especially when we come back together in person. But for now, I have created some very special projects for you to do in your own home. I will walk you through them every step of the way. Let's begin. This year, we will be working on pieces to help us learn more about the elements of art and how we can use them to create beautiful and fun masterpieces. There are 7 elements of art: line, shape and form, color, texture, space, and value. For our first art project together, we will be learning about lines and how we can use them in different ways to add creativity to your work of art. Here are the supplies you will need for today's lesson: pencil, a ruler, colored utensils of your choice. I chose to use colored pencils and markers, and I may not use all of the colored utensils I have displayed in this photo, but I'll have them on hand just in case. Last but not least, you will need several sheets of paper, at least 3 to 4 sheets. Here, I have thick cardstock paper, so the surface of my table will stay clean. Let's practice drawing some lines. There are many types of lines you can draw in art to help you create patterns and different shapes for your artwork. Today we will practice drawing horizontal lines, vertical lines, diagonal, wavy, and lines that create a spiral. I will also share some examples of what you can draw with these different types of lines. Here you will need 1 sheet of paper, your ruler, and a pencil. I will be using a marker so you can see my lines better on the screen. I will also have an extra piece of paper behind the one I am drawing on to make sure the surface of my table stays clean. Now let's start with horizontal lines. Horizontal lines are drawn from left to right or right to left on your paper. Place your ruler flat across the top of your paper. Whenever you use a ruler to help you make straight lines, make sure your hand is pressed firmly on the ruler so it will stay in place. Here I am going to practice drawing short dash lines. Short dash lines are great for drawing lines on a street or patterns on clothes. Now let's practice drawing one long straight line across the page. Remember to press firmly on the ruler so it won't move. Now let's work on vertical lines. You're going to rotate your ruler so it will be placed lengthwise on your paper. Vertical lines are drawn up and down. With your ruler, you can also practice your spacing in between the lines. Here I began with lines drawn close together, and then I practiced spacing my lines further away from one another to play with distance. I tried to make all my lines the same size and length. Then I practiced making longer vertical lines on my paper. Horizontal and vertical lines will help me create windows, buildings, stairs, and tables in my drawings. Diagonal lines are a lot of fun to draw. Sometimes I like using my ruler, but I also enjoy drawing diagonal lines without a ruler. Here you can see I have placed my ruler in a slanted position to have my lines pointing in a higher position to the right and a lower position to the left. You can also have your diagonal lines moving the opposite direction. Combine them, and you can create zigzag lines. I use zigzag lines to make lightning bolts whenever I want to draw a thunderstorm. And sometimes I use zigzag and diagonal lines to create a grassy scene on the ground. Wavy lines. There are many ways to make wavy lines. Here you can see I drew some close together and farther apart. You can also change the height of the waves by drawing a pattern of tall and short waves together to make a pretty water scene. The spiral. This one is a little tricky at first for some people, but with more practice, the easier it becomes. Begin with a dot for the center of your spiral. Then, without lifting your pencil, draw away from the dot and curve your line around without going back to the beginning. Just keep drawing outward. The spiral you draw will become bigger and bigger until you see a pretty spiral like this. Let's try again. Draw a dot, then place your pencil on the dot, slowly drawing out a curve to make the shape of an open curled line. I am going to continue to draw outside of the curved line I'm creating and continue to make the spiral bigger. Now let's practice going in the opposite direction. The first two lines I started drawing the spiral to the right, and now I'm going to draw my spiral with the direction going left. Now let's try drawing a spiral where the lines are closer together at first, but as it gets bigger, try drawing your spiral rings further and further apart. It looks like a snail shell, doesn't it? Good job. Now let's create something fun with all the different types of lines we've worked on today. Our very first art project of the year is called Creative Hands. We will trace our hands and draw fun line patterns to make unique and colorful works of art. I'm about to show you some examples of what you can do with your creative hands. For this first piece, I drew wavy lines on each of the fingers, all the way down to the wrist, stopping my waves at the outline of my hand. I colored in the negative space with a pattern of my favorite colors, blue and purple. We didn't practice this type of line, but for this one, I used curved lines going in the same direction on each of the fingers. Then I went to the back of the hand and drew curved lines going in the opposite direction all the way down to the wrist. Here you can see I used the colors orange and red for my color pattern. Here is a hand with diagonal thin and thick lines for a pattern in both color and width of lines. I used my ruler to draw diagonal lines close together and farther apart to color in thin yellow and thick green lines. Here is my favorite one of all. You can combine all the lines we learned today in your artwork with any color combination you wish. I am going to show you how I made this creative hand step by step. Here we go. Place your hand on the paper with your fingers spread apart. With your pencil, slowly trace your hand to create your outline. Next, with a paper or a protective sheet behind your drawing, carefully trace over your pencil outline with a dark marker. Take your time and follow your penciled guide. Once your hand is outlined in marker, take your pencil and begin drawing different lines for each part of the hand. Here I decided to draw diagonal lines for the wrist, curved lines for the thumb, a zigzag pattern, wavy lines, and much more. I really enjoyed choosing how to fill my hand with different line patterns. If you choose to use different types of lines for your hands, be creative and have fun with it. Once I was finished drawing everything with pencil, I drew over my design with marker, then I laid out my colored pencils. Here I will show you how I decorated the thumb. For the thumb, I decided to fill it in using the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And here is my final project. As you can see, I created the rainbow thumb, a zigzag pattern for the index finger, wavy lines, diagonal lines, and looped lines for the pinky. I colored everything with various color patterns. Always sign your artwork to show you are pleased and proud of what you have accomplished. I also like to add the date on the back of my artwork so I can remember when I made this masterpiece. But feel free to add your name and date anywhere on your work. Don't forget to upload your creative hand and submit it to your classroom teachers. I hope I get the chance to see the masterpieces you drew as well. Thanks for participating in our very first art class of the year. I had a lot of fun making this project for you, and I hope you had fun doing it as well. Take care and stay creative.